Our gospel lesson for this evening comes from Matthew chapter 26. We'll read the first part, and then we're going to sing a short hymn, and then we'll continue afterwards. And when you see the hymn that we sing, we hope it connects why we're singing it. We meet Jesus and his disciples tonight in the Garden of Gethsemane. So hear these words from Matthew 26, beginning in verse 26. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." And then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. I invite you to remain seated, and let's sing just this verse 1 of Go to Dark Gethsemane. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He then went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." Would you join me for a moment of prayer? Gracious God, may these words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be faithful in your sight. For you, God, and you alone are our rock, our strength, and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, friends, we've made it to Maundy Thursday. After what has Maybe for you it seemed like a very long and maybe weary journey through the book of Ecclesiastes these last several weeks. We're coming to the culmination. Easter is just 3 days away, and yet there is still important work for us to do. Maundy, Thursday is that day in Holy Week where things really begin to heat up. On Palm Sunday, we had a wonderful celebration as we welcomed Jesus into Jerusalem. For the last few days, it's been pretty calm for Jesus, but tonight, things really begin to move quickly. There's a lot that happens on Maundy, Thursday. And if you read all four Gospels, you'll see this is the night where Jesus washes the feet of his disciples. This is the night where Jesus shares the Last Supper and institutes the practice of Holy Communion, which we'll take part in a bit. This is the night where Jesus gives the new commandment to his disciples and says, "Love one another as I have loved you." This is the night where in John 14, 15, and 16, Jesus gives a very, very long farewell discourse as he's giving his final instructions to his disciples. Tonight is the night where Jesus predicts that Peter will deny him not once, not twice, but 3 times. And tonight is the night, as we read, where Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane and prays, "If there's any other way for this to happen, God, please let it be so." And of course, it's the night where Jesus is arrested, where he's handed over into the hands of those who wish him harm, and the story continues on from there. But ultimately, tonight, among all of these things, at the core, tonight is a night that marks a transition in Jesus' life and ministry. And in the words of Henry Nouwen, he says that this is the night where Jesus' life turns from action to passion. And what he means by that is not the emotion that we feel of intense desire and enthusiasm. We call that passion. But what Henry Nouwen means is that in the moment where Jesus is handed over into the hands of those who would wish him harm, Jesus' life goes from one where he is directing his life and actions to a point in his life where he's no longer in control. He gives up the control and gives himself into the hands of those who would wish him harm. And from that point forward, his life is not about what he does, it's about what's done to him. And in the days that come, we'll see that Jesus is arrested, he's beaten, he's mocked, scorned, falsely accused, spat upon, laughed at, stripped naked, and ultimately nailed to a cross. We call this the Passion of Jesus. And what Henry Nouwen means when he calls it the Passion is that it's that experience where Jesus is no longer in control about what happens to him. And on this night where we commemorate that important transition, that turning point for Jesus, we remember these next few days is all about how God's work is fulfilled, not in what Jesus does, but in what's done to him. Now, you might be thinking, well, but when Jesus is up on that cross, he knows what's going on, and he's acting on our behalf, and there's truth to that. But at the core, Jesus gives up control, and he gives up his life. And he does this because he wants to show us that this is the way to wholeness. Just like Jesus' life was a life of action and passion, so too are our lives, filled with action and passion. And for the last several weeks, we've been walking through the book of Ecclesiastes, and one of its core messages that we have heard again and again is that our life is much more passion than action. Our life is far more about things happening to us than us self-directing our lives. And this is not something that is easy to accept, and it's something that we probably want to resist because we live in a world where we love to be self-determined. And we want to believe with every fiber of our beings that our lot in life can be determined by what we say, do, and what we build for ourselves. And there's a place for action in our lives, just as there was for Jesus, who for most of his life went wherever he wanted, teached, preached. But at some point for Jesus, there was the invitation to passion. And Ecclesiastes has been giving us this exact same invitation. Don't be deceived. Don't buy into the illusion that you can always be in control. Our lives are far more passion than action. And if we deny this reality, as Ecclesiastes has reminded us time and time again, all we do is deceive ourselves. So does this mean that we're helpless? I mean, does this mean that Jesus and us are just victims of fate and whatever happens to befall us? Well, Maundy Thursday tells us no. It just makes us human. Because don't forget that when Jesus goes to the garden, he kneels. And in a moment of profound humanity, he prays not just once, not twice, but 3 times. God, if there's any other way for you to do what needs to be done without me giving up control, please let it be so. Jesus was afraid to give up control. Just as it is difficult for us to give up control. But the turning point of this night is when Jesus says those words that we struggle to say so often, but God, not my will, but yours be done. And when Jesus utters those words, it becomes a turning point not only for him, but also for us. Because Jesus does the thing that is so difficult for us to do. He entrusts everything that he is and everything that he has into the hands of God. He doesn't hold anything back. He doesn't reserve some part of his life that he wants to keep within the wheelhouse of his control. He offers it all of his life, even into the hands of those who would wish him harm. And he takes on what we've called the hevel of this world, the mystery of life, the enigma that life doesn't always make sense. Jesus says yes to that. And he does what we can't do. This is why tonight is a redemptive act. Now, and goes on to say when he writes about this, he says that this turning point is good news. It is good news to know that Jesus is handed over to passion and that it's through his passion that God accomplishes his divine task on earth. It's good news for a world that is passionately searching for wholeness. It's good news for any and all of us who have learned the lessons of Ecclesiastes. That despite our best efforts to act and to be in control of what happens to what we say, do, and build for ourselves, sometimes things just happen to us. And it doesn't make us victims, but it makes us human. But tonight we see in Jesus that the path to wholeness is not to go around the passion, but to go through it. It's the only way. And this is why it matters so much that Jesus says, not your will, not my will, but yours be done. Tonight, the invitation is to let yourself be handed over. Not into the hands of people who wish you harm, let me be clear here, but into an acceptance of what the book of Ecclesiastes has been trying to hammer home for us the last 6 weeks. There will be things in life that happen to you that you cannot control, that you cannot change. But it is precisely in those places, I really believe this, that God is most present with us. Because ours is a God who has come into the mystery of life and has said yes to the passion. So we're meant to follow him. Not around it, but through it. And if we follow Jesus through the passion, through the garden, even to the cross, well, we'll be there on Easter morning. And we'll see that that doesn't have the final word. Thanks be to God. Amen.